Today with me I have Reverend Malcolm Heading. It's a joy to have you with us, Brother Malcolm. You've been serving the ICEJ for many, many years. You served as the international director for 11 years. You're now a spokesman for the ministry internationally. But it's a joy to have you here. And I had a question particularly today about the Archangel Michael in the scriptures and its relation to Israel. Is there a small capsule of teaching and truth that you can share with us, particularly about what the scriptures say about this angel?
Well, the Archangel Michael is one of these major heavenly beings alongside the Archangel Gabriel. And they are mentioned frequently in the Bible, as was the devil, an archangel. And he was even more beautiful. The Bible says in Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28, that he was the covering cherub.
Lucifer?
Lucifer, yeah. And he's called Lucifer, as you quite rightly point out. And he had instruments of music in his being. The Bible says that. We don't quite exactly know how that happened or what he looked like, but he was this incredible archangel that was responsible for worship.
So
in the presence of God. And of course he rebelled against God, and we know him as the devil or Satan, but he is Lucifer. And it's those chapters say Lucifer, son of the dawn, how you have fallen, and a record of this archangel. Michael is the archangel that is tasked with the protection of Israel and the Jewish people. And that's why Jesus said, this generation will not pass away until all these things are fulfilled. In other words, the root word there is not generation as in time. We incorrectly interpret it like that. It's not 70 years or 40 years. It's generation, genia in the Greek, which actually means this people, this generation of people, this nation, this race. That's what it means. Will never pass away. Why? Because while it is tested and assaulted and everything else, there's a great archangel of war who's watching over the nation of Israel. Now, the Archangel Gabriel is always a minister, as the Bible calls angels, a minister of good news. He's a minister of peace. So if Gabriel arrives in your bedroom one night, you are
blessed and highly favored.
Blessed, as he did with Mary. And other instances, Gabriel's always in a place of peace and joy and brings good news. But if Michael arrives in your bedroom, then you must know there's some major conflict on the go here.
Wow.
And it was Michael who rose up as a result of Daniel's prayers. In order to facilitate the purpose of God in what Daniel was praying for. These angels operate under the instruction and sovereignty of God. And they took on great principalities of Greece and Medo-Persia.
The Prince of Persia, as is written
in the unseen world, to facilitate the return of the Jewish people to the land of Canaan. And Michael, the Bible says in the book of Daniel chapter 12, will stand up again at the end time in order to protect the Jewish people and save them from a global assault. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see today that more and more, with every passing month almost, the position of the nation of Israel is becoming more precarious. I read a note this morning before we came to these times together, that Israel is now actively preparing for war on all four fronts. And that's because the alignment of nations against her with overwhelming firepower is incredible. I mean, it cannot be laughed off. I mean, Hezbollah have some 150,000 missiles.
And then Iran's at the doorstep.
Iran's at the doorstep, and Hamas is at the south. And the other day we had an attempt from the sea to attack Israel.
Really?
Yeah, they intervened and stopped it. And it came from Gaza.
Okay.
And so there's this continuous assault, and then you get the assault of nations who continue their barrage against
propaganda
Israel.
war.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you got Nikki Haley, who gets up in the United Nations and warns them that she will no longer accept these resolutions after resolution that are totally unjustified, totally biased, totally prejudiced against the Jewish people. So there's this global mounting assault. And while we admire Israel's determination to defend herself, I think we're getting to a place where without God's help it's not going to happen.
Absolutely.
And that's where Michael is so important, and that's why the Bible says, in terms of the final restoration of the Jewish people, and it's worth noting that the Bible says there will be 2 exiles of the Jewish people and 2 returns. And after the second and final return, we will have the consummation of the age and the coming of Mashiach.
Yeah, that great day.
And the Bible says that day will be punctuated beforehand by an intense global battle against Israel. And you have that in Revelation 16,
Right.
And Zechariah 14. All nations bring themselves in some type of global attack on the nation of Israel. And you can see how that can happen. You just see it with these riots now, where these Gazians are trying to tear down the border. And they are violent. They're sending children into the front. And when Israel defends herself, no one looks at the source of what's going on behind it, with Hamas, which is a designated terrorist organization given wholly and completely to jihad and the murder and destruction of the Jewish people by their own confession.
Right.
We're not talking badly about them. They proudly announce it. But the world condemns Israel for defending herself. There's this, it's like a irrational darkness that's overcome the media and people who will insist on always trying to paint Israel as the bad bully in the region and responsible for all the drama in the world. And if you can just get rid of them some way. I mean, it has overtones about the German Third Reich,
Right.
that saw the Jews. They're just the problem in the world. And so we saw with the Third Reich, they're fighting these incredible battles, but they will divert millions of dollars to a struggle against a group of people who are not non-combatants.
Yeah.
And in an attempt to murder them.
Well, in the recent protests along the Gaza border, we've seen pictures coming out of flags with swastikas on them.
No, yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah. They've even been banners of Hitler, where it says, "We will finish the job."
Can you imagine?
And they do this, and the world media say nothing. It's just acceptable. It's rhetoric, and it's just nonsense. So, but there is this global assault against the Jewish people, and thank God there is an archangel.
Wow.
Who the world does not count on, who is a mighty archangel.
Wow.
And he will come from God, and he will defend Israel.
Wow, isn't that remarkable?
And that's what she needs. And God will help her. We thank God for that.
Yeah.
And so that's the story of Michael.
So important, even for believers to understand that behind all the rumblings, behind all the upheaval, it's more than politics. It's more than human rights. There's a spiritual conflict going on.
Exactly.
So thank you, Malcolm.
You're welcome.
So appreciate that.
God bless you.
Bless you.
Please share this video, and on YouTube, click the button below to become a subscriber.